Hello and welcome to this inevitable edition of Bison Talks Impact, coming to you from the Total Nonstop Impact Network. I'm your host, Bison, and I'm joined today by one of the newest members of the Bullet Club. He is the inevitable one, Mr. Ace Austin. Welcome to the show, fella.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
No worries, no worries. And I'm really excited to speak to you, actually, because when I first started doing these interviews with Impact Stars, about sort of 2.5 years ago-ish, you were actually in my top 4 guys I wanted to interview. So it's taken a while to get there, but we're finally here. And
and we've got much more to talk about than we would have back then. So.
Exactly, which is fantastic. Really wanted a good chinwag with Ace Austin. I can't wait. Now, what's really interesting actually is when you burst on the scene with Impact Wrestling, which, if I'm right now, because my memory serves me correctly, it was at a Las Vegas tapings where you were portraying what could only be described as a kind of porn star character. Can you kind of tell the TNI tribe how this introduction to the Impact roster came about?
Well, it started a little bit before that. So let's see. I had a lot of really big opportunities come my way in 2018. That's kind of when things really started popping off for me. So I worked for, many different TV companies and whatever throughout 2018. And that I got my first real opportunity with Impact. I think it was an Explosion match. And I think it was after Bound for Glory in New York. I'm not sure if it was Bound for Glory, but it was something, a pay-per-view happened in New York. I had an indie show in New Jersey. And since I knew that was happening, after my indie show, I went to the pay-per-view in New York. And I hung out for that weekend with Sammy and everything. And I got an Explosion match the day after the pay-per-view. So that was the first one, Explosion match. And then after that, it was I was getting used for just some one night only sort of things. And then my first TV match was me, Zach Wentz, and Trey versus OVE. So that was a big opportunity match, and that's where they really gave me my first actual look. Okay, let's see how we can do on TV. So then after that, I got the contract and whatever. And so my first set of tapings under contract was Las Vegas in 2019. But the adult film stuff didn't start right then. That was so that first set in 2019, I was introduced. I did the vignettes. I had my first matches, all that sort of thing. And then it wasn't until 8 months later, around October, Bound for Glory. That's when I won the X Division title. That's when I dyed my hair purple, and that's when I got those adult film opportunities. And that's when they did that's when we did the whole everything with Eddie's wife and everything with Trey's mom, and so
it's interesting. I've got some stuff to talk about with regards to that a little bit later on, because I was actually at a set of tapings. I flew over to New York, and it was literally not too. It was 2019. I think it was November time-ish, and it was the Melrose Ballroom, and I was in the building when the first time I think we got to see Trey's mom in the audience. I think it's a while back now. It's a while back, but I'm pretty sure it was around about that time. But I just want to talk a little bit about kind of the character they built to that. So we had that sort of kind of adult film vignette stuff, which was at the time it was different, and it was funny.
Pushing an envelope there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people, we know that there was a couple of characters on the scene that were sort of kind of greasing up and doing that kind of stuff. But I think the way you were portrayed in this was that you were a proper adult star. You were in movies, and you were filmed. And I think it's sort of kind of people started to turn their head a little bit, not just because how great you are in the ring, but because, actually, well, this guy can do promos. This guy can act. This guy is possibly a full tool player.
It added some character depth for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think it made a massive difference to them, people starting to really notice you as Ace Austin, as the character, as the potential main event monster that I think you're gradually becoming. Or actually, you're probably pretty much there now, to be fair, in my opinion. But you're certainly on your way. Now, I want to go back a little bit to say high school Ace. Now, was it always your goal to become a pro wrestler? And what was your sport growing up as a kid? So I'm not expecting you to say that with you were like wrestling early on. I'm expecting you to say you were like a quarterback or something, because I think you sort of kind of give off those sort of vibes. I think you were a jock. I think you were the top dog of the school. Tell us a bit about Little Ace.
Yeah, no, you'll be interested to find out, for sure. So wrestling is definitely what I always wanted to do. I remember as a kid, that was kind of what what I decided on. It's what I settled on. Anytime somebody asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, it was professional wrestler. Now, those goals definitely change once you start getting into wrestling, because of course, growing up, like, you have one thing in mind, like WWE was the monopoly of the industry, right? So growing up, all I knew about was WWE at first. So I grew up wanting to be a WWE superstar. And then I learned that there's a difference between being a WWE superstar and a professional wrestler. So that's when I started to fall in love with pro wrestling and what everything else that there is to offer outside of that. And that's when I knew about TNA Impact growing up and stuff like that, but it wasn't until probably I was a teenager that I really started to be able to look into that and actually see it, because I had to start doing my own sort of research. But in high school, well, even before high school, I wasn't really interested in organized sports very much. Now, I tried them because I knew I wanted to be a wrestler, so I wanted to do something athletic, something. So I tried football, and it was okay, but I wasn't really into it. I tried a little bit like a baseball, wasn't really into that. It was whatever. I did track and field. That was okay. But none of those things, I don't know, the organized sport system, it didn't give me what I was looking for. It's not what I wanted. And it took a lot of time away from me that I wanted to use for other things. So once I started getting into high school is when I started finding more of the creative side of the hobbies that I could be doing. So rather than sports, I started getting into, I took television production classes. So I learned how to be on camera and I learned how to be behind the camera. I learned how to shoot things and I learned how to direct things. And I learned how to do we used to do these weekly news shows in the high school, so that was in the TV.
Yeah.
So we had a TV studio. So I did those classes. I took graphic production classes. So I learned how to screen print T-shirts. I learned how to do posters and flyers and offset printing and all that stuff. And then before high school, I found musical theater, and that's really where things took a turn for me. It's the only thing I've ever done in my life that I wish I could do with wrestling. I wish I still had time for it. I did musical theater from 6th grade all the way through high school, and then I did it for 2 years after high school. I did community theater shows and whatever, and then after that I didn't have any more time really to kind of dedicate to that. But if it wasn't pro wrestling, musical theater is probably what I would be doing with most of my time, because I really, really fell in love with that, and it really gave me a stage presence, and it really it was the first place that I really felt some sort of connection to, what I was looking for when I tried sports, I didn't find. And then when I found musical theater, I found it. It was really, really amazing.
That's cool. That's really cool. I think that that clearly is shining through in your promo stuff as well. That you've obviously got that kind of experience. Your facial expressions, the way where to sort of kind of position yourself in a camera to get the best look. But I'll tell you what, talking about the musical side of things, could we see a sing-off between you and Joe Hendry? What do you think?
You know what? I'm sure we could. I don't see why not. I'll do a number with Joe Hendry for sure.
He's a cool dude. He's a
He
cool
is.
dude.
He's really great.
Okay, so now, so we got the musical theatre background. So we're now starting to understand how your sort of character side of things, how you're able to portray yourself. You're doing your musical theatre. You've been training behind and in front of the camera, which is fantastic. Now, where did you actually start to train to become a professional wrestler, and who was your trainers?
Well, before that, so I'd have to give a nod to like skateboarding as well. I skateboarded
Okay.
and I practiced parkour too when I was a kid. So all of those things are kind of where I found my niche rather than the organized sports like that. I fell into skateboarding and the parkour, and I found musical theater, and all those things really helped me kind of build the person that I wanted to be. But yeah, so throughout high school, I did that, and I got a job at Hot Topic when I was 14 years old. And actually, to this day, I still have a position with them, but I'm in a really special position where I get to kind of make my own schedule. So where I live, I pretty much let them know what weeks I'll be home out of the month. And then I'll pick days during the week, like just mornings during the week, where I'll come in and I'll do some stuff around the store, and I'll try to just do some upkeep and some stuff that they, because it's a really high volume store. So just some stuff that they can't do all by themselves. That's a place that's always been really special to me. They were really supportive of the dream to be a wrestler, and they helped me. I mean, they helped fund my training, because I worked there, and that's how I saved up money and stuff. So I had always planned, when I discovered wrestling schools on the internet, I found the Wild Samoans in Florida. AFA has this school down in Florida. So I had made plans to move to Florida after graduation and start training with AFA. That was my plan. So I started saving up money from Hot Topic, and I started getting ready to do that. And then during my junior year of high school, my 11th grade year, while I was at rehearsal for the musical that I was in that year, I got a call from my boss at Hot Topic, and he said, "Hey, I just met somebody who came in here to like buy some accessories and stuff like that, and she was talking about wrestling. She's a manager. She's like a valet, a manager. She trains with the Wild Samoans in Allentown, Pennsylvania." And I didn't know that there was another school in Allentown. So my boss at Hot Topic gave this girl my information. She got a hold of me. I got a hold of them. And then eventually I talked to Samu directly, head stricker Samu. And because Samu runs the school in Pennsylvania, and AFA was running the school in Florida.
Right.
So I found out about this one in Pennsylvania, and I called and I talked to him, and I set up, to graduate high school, we had to do senior projects. So you had to do like a research paper on something, and then you had to visit somewhere and do interviews and stuff like that. There's a whole criteria for this project. So I picked wrestling, of course, because it was all I ever cared about. And then I set this up with him to do this project. They had an event on March 1st, 2014. And AFA was coming up from Florida to have his retirement match in Allentown. So it was like this big event that they were getting ready to do. And they let me come in and help with the ring. They let me be the timekeeper for that event. And I got to do all my interviews and whatever. I got my project done. And I asked, what age do you start training? And Samu told me we start at 17 with parental consent. And I turned 17 the day before March 1st, 2014. So those stars aligned for me. I was old enough to sign up for training and get started. So I signed up with the Samoans. I used the money that I'd saved to move to Florida to pay for most of my training. My grandmother helped me pay for the rest of it. And then I started at 17. But in Pennsylvania, you weren't allowed to perform on a show until you were 18. That was like a commission rule. So I had no choice but to train for almost a full year before I could even debut. So I was ready to go right away. Like, I mean, obviously you see how passionate I am about it now. Back then I threw myself into it head first. I learned everything I could in the first week. And then by 4 months in, I was having training matches and I was ready to go, but I had to wait until I was 18. So then when I was finally 18, you know, they put me on the shows, and then they let me spread my wings. And I hit the ground running as fast as I possibly could. But yeah, so Samu is my original trainer, Wild Samoans in Allentown. And then after that, I started spending some time at the CZW dojo in New Jersey. And then after that, I made my way to the Midwest with Sammy Callahan. So,
and the rest is history.
Yeah.
And talking about Sammy, he's one hell of a dude. You know, I take it. I could imagine being a real hard dude in training as well. I bet he's pretty intense.
Definitely. I lived with him for a good while too when I moved out to Ohio at first. Yeah, when I first moved to Ohio in 2017, I moved into a wrestle house. So 13 other wrestlers. We were all living under one roof, splitting rent. It was really cheap. One bathroom. It was crazy. And you know, we had training twice a week and whatever. And then when so that was where I was at first. And then Sammy moved back to Ohio probably around 2018. I think it was around I think it was around Christmas time-ish in 2018. But yeah, then I eventually started spending some more time at his house, and then he offered me a spot in his house. So I moved in with him and, you know, started training with him and that sort of thing. So yeah, he has such a unique style of training. Actually, my first ever seminar in wrestling ever was a Sammy Callahan seminar in Canada. When I was training with CZW, they were doing a cross promotion show with Smash Wrestling up in Canada, and I went along for the ride just to help set up and make contacts and whatever. And Sammy was doing a seminar that day right after he had left NXT, and that was the first seminar I attended, was that one. And and then it came full circle, you know, years later.
That's amazing. That is a really cool story. And you know, and you know, I think there's some really there's some really amazing people in the wrestling business that, you know, are always there to sort of kind of like elevate and bring other people up. I think Sammy's one of those guys that just wants the best for everybody.
I can't believe how much time he dedicates to helping other people. You'd think somebody as busy as he is, you know, and like he has every rhyme and reason to just keep to himself and like worry about himself, but he doesn't. He spends so much time on other people, and like if you get close to him, he'll do anything he can to help you. He's
what a cool dude. Yeah, definitely. Now, recently you re-signed a multi-year contract to stay with Impact, which is fantastic news for all of us Impact fans. But why did you decide to stay with Impact? I mean, you know, what was it that, you know, made you say, you know what? Because I'm pretty sure you had offers, right? And I mean, I don't know if you did, but I'm pretty sure you must have done. And, you know, what made you decide, you know what, Impact's where I want to be?
I've had multiple offers since the beginning. Back in 2018, I had multiple offers before I settled on Impact. But just like re-signing back then in 2018, my mindset was the same. I could see the clear path to Impact Wrestling. It made the most sense for me in every way. Like I had so many good friends there who were going to really help me grow and learn as a performer. And I was so young that going anywhere else seemed a little nonsensical. Just being in this as a fan, it's probably not as obvious to see, but as a person in the business, in the industry, it is such a clear-cut difference between locker rooms and management and all that sort of behind-the-scenes stuff. There is such a difference between Impact and everywhere else. I mean, I've seen the locker rooms everywhere else, and it's just not the same anywhere else. We have such an amazing team kind of environment and such a, you know, it's weird to say low stress because the job that we do isn't low stress by any means. But in terms of like just the people you're around and the environment that you get to perform in, Impact has just such a special thing to it. There's really, you know, nobody's at each other's throats. And even when there is you know, like fighting going on amongst people, it's taken care of and it's like squashed, you know, relatively just pretty much right away. And everybody just kind of gets back on the same page. Like we all just want to, I mean, we all want what everybody wants. We just want to succeed. We just want to do what we're good at and entertain. And it's like
put on a great show.
Yeah. So back in 2018, it was obvious why I should have started there. And then when I got the opportunity to re-sign, it was still so clear to me that like my place is here. I've built such a legacy. Why cut it short, you know, on my first 3 years and then just go try to restart somewhere else? You know, that's just not.
That makes sense.
Yeah, total unfinished business, and I've got a lot that I really want to accomplish, and I'm on my way. And I have to mention too, the schedule is another thing. Impact has such a perfect way of producing our product. Like we do our tapings, and then outside of that, we are free to explore whatever creative avenues we want. So like I've been taking on some more like acting projects and stunt gigs lately, because that's a side of things that I'm obviously musical theater and everything I've always been interested in. So I've been, you know, kind of, and I get to do that. I have the freedom to do that. I have the freedom to, you know, do Twitch if I want to. I have the freedom to just like create in my own way. And I get to take internet, you know, I get the international opportunities too. Getting to work with New Japan was such a huge goal. And I would not have gotten to do Best of the Super Juniors if I was not a part of Impact Wrestling. There would have been, I don't think that would have been in the cards for me at the time.
That makes sense, totally. And talking about kind of global reach, I think one of the things that really make Impact as a promotion special to the fan, as well as obviously, you know, for the roster and the wrestlers, etc., is the fact that it is available in like over 120 plus countries all over the world. I mean, it's on multiple streaming platforms as well. It's like Impact Plus. I mean, we've got the YouTube Ultimate Insiders. You know, I mean, over the past few years, I mean, like you said, we are treated to monthly 3-hour specials, like Emergence, which I was at a couple of months ago, and of course the coming special Overdrive. I mean, can I ask what, as a roster member, you feel about, you know, this kind of stuff and what this brings to the table for Impact and of course for Ace Austin?
It's amazing to me how many people on the internet like to say that it's hard to watch. Like I can't believe how many people say that they can't find Impact. Just look, take one look. Like you said, it's available in so many places, and the availability on YouTube with the Ultimate Insiders thing is like so amazing to me. That's how I watch Impact every week is through Ultimate Insiders. I don't have cable. I don't have time for cable or, you know, whatever. So I get to watch it through that, and the Impact Plus app is. I love the Impact Plus app personally because on the road I get to like just sift through that library and like constantly keep that kind of keep stuff fresh in my brain and like so it blows my mind that people think that, you know, that it's hard to find. It's like it's the easiest thing to find.
I agree. It really is the easiest thing to find. And you like to say, I mean, Impact Plus, you know, Ultimate Insiders at the end of the day, or even Insiders, you know, if you don't want to include the monthly specials, even the Insiders for the show every single week, it's like $1.20 a month or something. You get every show, which is absolutely awesome. And you can't knock it. You can't knock that. So, and it's ad free. What more do you need? So yeah, I think it's fantastic. But I had some stuff to ask you about Bullet Club and all sorts of stuff like that, Ace. But it looks like I'm rapidly run out of time, unfortunately. And I had 10 questions here, and I thought I've actually got through about 4. But that's because you've given us such amazing answers. Really appreciate that.
I mean, if you want to rattle any more off, we can try to get through them quickly. I'll try to answer a little quicker.
No, it's good. I mean, I don't want to get in trouble with Simon. You know, he's in the background there. I don't want to get in trouble with Simon. But yeah, no, it's been absolutely fantastic. The only thing I would say is you've already been, like you say, a multi-time X Division champion. As it is, of course, you know, you're now fellow Bullet Club member and tag partner Chris Bay. I mean, do you have designs on becoming the Impact World Champion, or are you solely focused right now on winning that tag team gold in Impact and, of course, the upcoming New Japan Super J tag tournament as well?
So yeah, when you when I first entered a tag team with Fulton, it was like just such a learning process. I wasn't a tag team wrestler by any means, so I had to learn how to be weekly in front of, you know, the fans, right in front of your eyes. Every week I was learning how to be a tag team wrestler with him. So the same thing kind of happened with Bay. Like, neither one of us were really much of tag team wrestlers, and then we end up in Bullet Club together, and it's an obvious choice for us to take on the Impact tag scene. So we have been kind of like, we've caught a stride very quickly. So even quicker than I would say my team with Fulton, I've found this groove with Bay. And now that we have Tag League in front of us, we're going to do Junior Tag League. We're going to take Junior Tag League home. We're going to win that thing. And then we're going to come home to Impact Wrestling. And then it's a straight shot to the tag titles. I mean, the impression that we're going to make on the world in Junior Tag League is going to be felt through every company all over the world. And when we come back to Impact Wrestling, we're going to take the tag titles, and then we're going to keep it. We're going to keep on the whole world. That's kind of the game plan right now. We really have this steam that I can totally feel. This rocket ship that we're on is like, we're going to do amazing things.
Well, I have to say, that sounds amazing. I'm looking forward to that. I'm actually super excited to see what is next for you coming in the next few months and years. But like I said, I'm afraid that is pretty much all we got time for today. I hope you've enjoyed listening to the very special guest, of course, the inevitable one, Ace Austin. And don't forget, guys, you know, I'm obviously Bison on Twitter at Lord Bison Forge. Make sure that you follow us on top of Nonstop Impact Network at We Talk Impact. Where can we find you on the socials, Ace?
Instagram and Twitter is the same. It's just at @the_Ace_Austin. I've got a YouTube channel that I got to work on, but it's up there. Subscribe. I'll put some new stuff up there soon when I have some time. Cameo, I'm doing cameos, book through the website, not the app. Yeah, what else? I think that's pretty much, yeah. That's pretty much
okay. Well, that sounds good to me. Now, guys, please make sure to leave us a thumbs up, and you know, obviously a nice comment to let us know how we're doing, and feel free to add your thoughts on today's fantastic guest. So take care, everyone. Until next time, this has been Bison Talks Impact with your very special guest, the inevitable one, Ace Austin.